Hi, beautiful souls. I hope you're having an awesome week. I have a couple of downloads that I want to share with you guys. I'm going to split them up into two videos just because one's going to be a little bit longer and the information is more associated with that one download than the other. So you guys can go ahead and decide whether you're going to watch the video the whole way through or just listen to the download. So in one of the sign readings last week, they were telling me to share with that sign that healing is not linear, right? And then they went ahead and told me to draw out a diagram of how healing actually works. And I'm pretty sure, no, I'm 100% sure there's a meme showing this, right? So this is what healing actually looks like. Hold on. It looks like that, right? Healing is not linear whatsoever. So then my guides gave me a download showing me another diagram of how healing actually works and why healing is not linear. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show that to you guys now. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so this line of circles here is your current life, this current life, right? And then this line here indicates the beginning of your healing journey, the beginning of your spiritual awakening, however it is that you label that for yourself, right? So as we begin the healing process, we work our way backwards, right? And all of these circles are indicating the different traumatic experiences, the different patterns of behaviors that are low frequency, low vibing, that keep repeating throughout your life, right? And as you work your way through, let's say you work your way through 3 of these experiences. And when you get to this experience here, you just can't figure out where it comes from. You can't get to the root of it. It doesn't matter how much shadow work you do, how much you look for different triggers, how much you meditate on it. You just can't seem to figure out where that stems from. The answer to that is it originated in another life, right? As indicated by these vertical circles. So in order to clear this experience out, we need to go to a past life in order to clear the root cause of it, to clear the experience in this lifetime, right? So once we do that, then we can clear that experience and we can continue to work our way backwards through all of these experiences, right? But keep in mind, while you're healing, your life doesn't stop. You continue to have more experiences. You continue to get faced with different tests and lessons, and the divine gives you opportunities to either rectify these past experiences or continue on it, right? And let's just say you didn't get the lesson, you didn't pass the test, so you add more circles onto your timeline. And in order to get back to this point here, we need to start at these newly acquired experiences, right? In order to clear this one out, we need to go back to the start, clear those ones out in order to continue to move down this healing journey. But again, you'll get to a certain point, you can't figure it out, and that's because it originates in a different lifetime. Now, the thing that I found the most reassuring about this energy is that on the weekend I went and bought a new deck of cards. In this deck of cards, we have the Karma card, right? And the blurb says, there is nothing from a past life that cannot be addressed in the current life, which is really just confirmation of this download here. I really enjoyed that actually. Now, they do want me to talk about briefly how to heal yourself. I mean, there are so many social media channels that talk about needing to heal, but there's very little information on how that actually works and what that looks like. So I'm just going to give you examples based off my own journey, and hopefully that will give you some sort of idea or indication on how to move forward in your own healing journey, right? So when I went through my dark night of the soul, it literally just hit me all at once. Actually, let's back that up a little bit. So when I was about 17, it was the second to last time I saw my father while he was still alive. My father and I had a very strained relationship, to say the least. And it was in that experience that I took away the father-daughter connection, that family connection, and viewed him as just a human being, as any other stranger in the street. And I accepted the fact that this is who he was. And it didn't matter how many different ways I tried to express myself or anything like that. The reaction, the response that I have always got from him, right, the pattern was always going to continue. It was never going to change. And once I accepted that, it was so easy for me to detach myself from him and continue on my life. Please keep in mind, I was only just coming into, I guess, spirituality at the time. I probably had my spiritual awakening maybe a year and a half after that. But with that experience already ingrained in my memory, once I come into the dark night of the soul, that was where they got me to start, because I had already done so much work trying to heal myself as well as that connection. So when different triggers come out surrounding like my self-worth, self-validation, self-love, all that sort of stuff, I could already pinpoint the origin to those issues back to the connection with my dad, right? So it was very easy for me to work through those energies. And then fast forward, there was a whole realization about how my mother had been. And at that stage, I was meditating. I was doing a lot of journaling. So I first started journaling letters to people that I still felt some sort of way towards. So I wrote down all my feelings, how that made me feel, and why I'm struggling with that now. I waited until there was a full moon, which was all about releasing, right? And I read those letters out loud to my guides, and then I burnt them. And I put them in the garden, and that was the end of that. It helped a little bit, a tiny little bit, but it didn't clear me of that energy. And because my mother was, I know I'm getting a bit off topic here, but anyway, because my mother was someone who had a lot of intelligence compared to my dad, who was very bare minimum, sort of an intelligent person, like bare minimum. There's a saying, a few tools short of a toolbox, a few kilometers short of a hangi, like that sort of thing. He wasn't the brightest spark, and that's okay. That's just who he is. But my mum is. So I thought, well, maybe we could have a conversation and she could help me understand why she made certain decisions and where those decisions came from, like the understanding based on those decisions. So I tried to have that conversation with her. Safe to say it didn't go well. She reacted to me the same way she has always reacted to me when I've had issues with her and wanted to talk about them. Now this conflict carried on for a few weeks, and it wasn't until one of the last arguments that we had where, I don't know what happened, but they pulled me outside of myself while she was yelling at me, and I was looking at her as just a human. She wasn't my mother anymore. She was just another human being here on earth experiencing whatever it is that they need to experience. And so when that happened, the same energy the same experience that I had with my father many years prior to that, it all just clicked. I was seeking understanding from a parental figure when really I needed to detach myself from those labels, right? And it's only later on in life, I'm going to say within the past 6 months, that I've really come into the understanding that the family units that I have been born into, there is only one person out of that whole entire family unit, and I come from a big family, like both sides are big families. I have never incarnated with any of them prior, and I was trying to understand a soul that I had no recognition with, no, you know what I mean? So once that detachment from the labels of you're my mother, you're my father, you're my sister, you're my brother, like all those sorts of things happened, I was able to allow them more space in being who they were, and also allow myself more space, simply because we're mirroring, right? And so once I got past those issues, there were a lot of choices and decisions that I've made throughout my life that, looking back, you know, hindsight's 2020, looking back, I got into that energy of I should have done this, I could have done that, why didn't I do this, why didn't I listen to my red flags, why didn't I listen to my intuition, all those sorts of things. And I had to keep reiterating to myself, I did what I thought was the best choice in those moments, based on the understanding and the awareness I had at that time. I was beating myself up for having this awareness I currently have, but not recognizing in those experiences that I wasn't in the same level of awareness. So there's no point me beating myself up now for something I had very little awareness of in the past, right? So a lot of my inner work was literally talking to myself, like, you know, like this. I mean, you guys are watching, but you know what I mean. So talking to myself, as soon as triggers come up, I would pause. It didn't matter what I was doing or who I was interacting with. I would pause. I would contemplate on it. And because I'd done so much work with the two parental figures that created the most internal harm for myself, right? They didn't, well, they did because I was a child, but that's another subject. It's so much easier to find the root cause of that trigger once you've done the work when it comes to your most pivotal parental or authority figures in your childhood, right? And then there's just a natural flow on from that. So like I said, I wrote letters. I done a lot of contemplation. A lot of the work that I done was through physical experience, which I know is not everyone's cup of tea. So you can always, you know, if you experience a trigger, let's say you're having a conversation and you feel like the person is being condescending towards you, write that question down. Why do I feel, why am I perceiving this conversation as being condescending? Where does that come from, sort of thing? And then just keep writing, and you'll notice as you write or as you contemplate or as you talk to yourself, you'll get from one experience to the next experience to the next experience, and it will work backwards in your timeline to the very origin of that issue, that core wound, right? You can definitely use affirmations. However, you need to be saying them multiple times a day for at least, I want to say 21 days, but that's just personally what works for me. I know with a lot of people, on average, it takes like 76 days or something for an affirmation to really sink into the subconscious. So just please be aware of that. Meditation was my best friend. It still is my best friend. I know that a lot of the collective really struggle to quiet down your thoughts, and in the next downloaded message, we're going to get into that. A lot of physical movement as well. Like, it is amazing how simple movements can really shift the energy. Like, you don't have to be doing yoga or anything like that. You could dance around in your living room like a bloody spastic and have no coordination or dancing skills, whatever, but it literally shifts your energy. Physical work, like doing some gardening or cooking, creating, all those sorts of things are really, really beneficial. When it does come to your subconscious mind, there are sleep tracks on YouTube that have subliminal messages intertwined in them. Like, as we know, when we go to sleep, our subconscious mind does not turn off. So if you're playing like something like that in the background, it is easier for your subconscious mind to absorb. Okay. What else? Really, it just comes back to honoring yourself. And once you get into some sort of rhythm when it comes to shadow work, when it comes to healing, everything else just starts naturally flowing towards you. Just try to avoid doubting yourself when those first initial instincts kick in, especially when it comes to your triggers, because your higher self is there cheering you on. They want you to get to a point where you're no longer hindered from the past and you're only moving forward based on the changes and the healthy choices that you want to make moving forward. Okay, so I know I dragged on. You don't have to watch the whole video, and I'm sorry. Just needed to get it out there. They wanted me to share it with you. With that being said, I'll see you at the next download.